And then we see a shot of Logan Paul hanging out with his buds, Eric and Ivar, the Viking Raiders, who give them a shirt. So this was a fascinating WWE segment where Logan Paul was so designed to be the babyface and had no idea of how much this audience hates this guy. He was completely cast as the babyface here.
I suppose so. Yeah, I really do find that hard to believe, though, because
if you listen to all of his lines, they were all like they paired him here with the Viking Raiders. He insulted Corbin. There was a comment in the middle where he said, "I'm a New Day fan." Like all of his lines were designed for a babyface reception, and I cannot imagine they had any idea that it was going to be this vociferous of a reaction to Logan Paul. I would be very curious to hear how this turned out and how much Miz and Morrison maybe had to just think on the fly to adjust, because I totally believe this segment was designed with the idea Logan Paul would be a babyface standing up to the Miz and the crowd would be behind Logan Paul.
I don't think you're wrong at all. But at the same time, like last time he was here, he was booked to take a stunner for a babyface reaction for Kevin Owens. So I can't understand why they would flip on that.
Yeah, that's it. It is true. And it was interesting because it seemed like Logan Paul, like his main thing here was to plug the fight on Sunday with Jake and Tyron Woodley, which was interesting. So,
well, why not? He's got that connection with the WWE. Why not, promote that match to 2,000 potential fight fans?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry. I would imagine, like, yes, I know it's like the week of the fight, but I would think Jake Paul would do this.
Well, I mean, I maybe. I doubt it.
Honestly, it's like Logan Paul has his, same kind of following as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, Morrison, dude, the water lines are just. He explains that wet guys are the best guys, and then transitions to you and your brother are making waves. It's just like this guy. I think he spends a week just thinking of every water reference that he puts down into a book for his promos each week.
The writing team must have a dedicated several people coming up with these water lines. I think they're hilarious. I mean, I don't know. I know it's not probably for everybody, but I think Morrison does a great job at it.
I think he's funny in the role. So. Like, this crowd is overtaking this. This isn't at the level of that Kevin Owens Elias segment in Seattle, but it's pretty, like, anti Logan Paul here. So the Miz comes out, and you can see Morrison, like, conveying something to Logan Paul in his ear. And Miz is kind of passively aggressively arguing with Morrison. They're going back and forth as they're at odds with one another. This is where Logan says, "I'm more of a New Day fan," thinking that was going to, I guess, get the crowd behind him. He starts talking about fighting Mayweather, how Paul or his brother Jake and Woodley are fighting in their hometown of Cleveland. And this was the most heel line where they said they're going to end Woodley's career and turn him into a meme. That was certainly came off as a heel line. And then Miz just turns around. He plugs the fight. He plugs his podcast, Fighting Mayweather. And then he asks Logan, "What round is your brother going to get knocked out in?" And Logan says that Jake is knocking out Tyron, and maybe I'm going to knock you out. They go face to face, and this crowd is all siding with Miz in this showdown. Morrison just jokes that Logan would, knock out Miz, and Miz makes everything about himself. Logan just takes off. He just leaves the ring, and then Miz explains to Morrison that Moist TV is a spinoff of Miz TV, and they continue arguing as Xavier Woods interrupts. But this was just a wild segment that I imagine was very different in their minds of how it would play out. That's what it felt like watching.
There was certainly something disjointed about it at the end. I mean, I just find it so hard to believe that they couldn't have seen this coming. I mean, these are the Paul brothers. They don't get cheered anywhere.
But look how they booked him in before the stunner. He was a babyface in that whole lead up. And we said the same thing. How do you bring in Logan Paul as a babyface? But that's how they did it until the stunner, which, I mean, to me was a great spot for Logan Paul to take.
Perhaps, yeah. But there was an element of this segment that was really interesting to watch because you could tell that like the crowd was kind of taking it into their own hands, how they're going to present the segment and seeing how everybody, I mean, it was a nuclear amount of heat for these Paul like this Logan Paul. So whenever these Paul brothers are done with boxing, I mean, they have tremendous potential careers in professional wrestling if they wanted it. Beyond that, it served as a bit of a setup for Miz and Morrison's breakup later on tonight.
Woods, they did a spot where they poured water on the floor and they were going to slide Xavier across the floor, but it was reversed. So Miz slid into the steps. When they came back from break, this was completely dry.
Oh, somebody must have mopped it up. Yeah. It's a hazard.
So Woods stops a skull-crushing finale. When Morrison gets on the apron to shoot the dripstick, he hits neither of them. But Woods gets away, and they explain that this match would be over if not for Morrison, and then Woods catches him with an inside cradle in 11:41. Morrison feels bad. Miz is upset. Corey Graves, maybe knowing what is to come, gets in one last line saying, "Oh, it's all water under the bridge." And then they call for the dripstick, and Miz executes Miz just attacks him. Skull-crushing finale. Beats the shit out of John Morrison.
What were you going to say?
I was going to go with drip to drop, but it doesn't work. So I just cut that one out, but you forced me to share it anyway. Wow. So big turn here by Miz, and this is going to build to the big showdown next week. Miz Morrison in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it feels a bit early, but I mean, we can probably depend on this match bleeding
multiple times. This is going to be a marathon feud. I can feel it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, it makes sense that the Miz is the heel coming out of this feud, but I have great concerns for John Morrison coming out of this program because I sense that Miz is always going to be this kind of their perennial, main event level type of heel project, and Morrison, there has been no indication to me that they're going to use any of this to push him as a serious mid-carder threat coming out of this. I feel like he's going to simply lose to the Miz at the end of all of this and then fade back into the mid-card, maybe with some of the, water comedy shticks. I mean, I see him, and unfortunately, I see a future 24/7 champion doing skits with Reggie. They see his acrobatics. He's the parkour guy. It almost is kind of perfect to his detriment, unfortunately. But I think, the Miz is going to probably come out of this feud for the better.
It's like WWE, it's like, man, they have really had a time when it comes to developing baby faces, but it's almost more pronounced now because both shows are dominated by these unbeatable heel monsters that I think it makes it even tougher now. Like, if you're putting John Morrison as a baby face, what's the ceiling? Like, he is not a guy that you're going to be priming for a Bobby Lashley. So you're looking at, a role that's going to be pretty much the babyface equivalent of where he's at now, and throwing out the Reggie idea. I mean, I can't discount that being something that someone's going to think up, and he could find himself in that mix.
Yeah, we'll see. I at least hope they get a good feud out of it. I mean, I think there's great potential for Morrison to be a great babyface coming off of this, but whether or not they realize it or have other plans, we'll find out.